welcome to another from around Mijas live stream, and I'm joined this evening by Anne. Anne, how are you doing?
Hi, Bill. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Yes, I'm
Pleased
fine.
to see the festive season over. My God, it goes on for so long here in
It,
Spain. It just drags
well,
on and on and on.
the thing is, it seemed to start in November
Oh,
and finish sometime in
I know.
January.
Well, I don't know. It seems to run from Halloween through to January the 9th this year. It's just ridiculous. I'm a bit of a bar humbug anyway, so I'm not into all of that at the best of times.
So, Anne, I think we're going to be talking all things cars today.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of other
First
updates.
of all, the old chestnut. Do we have any update on the driving licenses?
No update yet, re the exchange
No.
of the UK driving license for a Spanish one, though we were informed at the last update from the ambassador, British ambassador Hugh, which was in December before Christmas, that the British side had all been done and it was all in the hands of the Spanish.
Right.
And they would be working through the festive season to sort things. Well, I thought that was rather optimistic. And obviously, whether it happened or not, I don't know, but we still haven't had another update. No. But
Right,
once the agreement is finalized and published in the BOE, in the Spanish State Bulletin,
yeah, sure.
Allegedly, if it goes as we've been told, Brits will be able to drive for 6 months on their valid UK driving license, during which time they have to exchange it for a Spanish one.
Yeah. And they will have to do the medical.
Yeah, the psychophysical test. Yes, they do. Yeah,
and that's not making a separate rule for the Brits, because everybody has to do that to get their license. If you're Spanish or any other nationality with a Spanish license.
What they're saying is that after those 6 months, although they will no longer be able to drive on their UK license, because during that time they can still drive on their UK license whilst they're getting together to do the exchange. They will still be able to exchange, but not drive on the license.
Right. Okay.
So let's see. And I mean, by UK license, it's those that are issued by DVLA, the British Driving Licensing Authority, DVA, Northern Ireland Licensing Authority, or the Gibraltar Licensing Authority. I do believe licenses such as the Isle of Man that have been issued are not valid.
Okay.
So,
So that's that. Now, there's
hold on. No, but some Brits, I'll just finish on that. Some Brits are being extremely hasty and they're thinking, oh, I'm going to get my test, this I don't know what you call it, hand-eye coordination, medical type test, ready, etc., and they're applying and paying already. And in some places, I mean, it's up to about €75. If you do it Malaga by the Trafico, it's €45. It's the cheapest I know up there, and you don't need an appointment either. And they're doing it already. Little do they know, it's only valid for 90 days. So if this agreement is not published within 90 days, I'm afraid they'll have wasted their money and they'll have to do it again.
Right. Yeah.
So, I would suggest they wait, basically.
That's not surprising, though, Anne, is it? Because there's so many things that only have a limited validity.
Exactly.
And everything has to be done within that period.
Yeah. However, there's others here that are being rather optimistic and thinking of buying another second-hand car. Others are being pessimistic, I suppose, and thinking of selling their Spanish registered car. So basically, I was going to explain how they do it.
Right. Okay. So what do you want to start with then, Anne?
I'll start with that, shall I? How to register your Spanish car here, if you're buying or selling. In the UK, it's very simple. You just tear off the bottom slip on the green logbook, give the new owner part to the new buyer, and send off with the name of the buyer and their address to DVLA for exchange of ownership. Here, we know Spain likes its bureaucracy, and it doesn't escape that here, I'm afraid, when you're re-registering the transfer of a vehicle by a sale. And it's important to remember that it has to be done properly. Otherwise, the vendor, if it's not done properly and it's not transferred to the name of the new buyer, is still responsible for any traffic fines, whatever it might be, parking tickets, etc., and also the annual tax during that time. So it's really important to get it done properly. I have known people that have come unstuck, unfortunately, and they've had to pay 4 years 4 years road tax and speeding fines and all sorts of things when they sold the vehicle quite naively 4 years ago and it wasn't properly transferred.
Yeah. So does that mean really doing this through a gestor?
Well, or you can do it through us. I do it for you as well.
Right. Okay.
You can do it for yourself, but you just need, I suppose, ideally, you need to be able to speak Spanish. Yes.
Yeah, but you also need to know about how the car is valued, don't you? You need to get a book value for the car.
Yes, you do. You can do that. You can get that online though, but you have to know you have to know what you're looking for.
Right.
Yeah. But as a foreigner here, you can buy a Spanish registered car, provided you have one of the following. And I've written these down so I don't forget. So let's have a look. You need an official residency card, so your tarjeta de residencia.
Right.
For 3 months prior to the purchase, or a rental contract for a duration of a minimum of 1 year, or proof that you are a Spanish homeowner by showing title deeds or a utility bill in your name at the Spanish address. And you would also need an NIE or a NIF number, whatever it is, your foreigner's ID number in Spain.
So that means that then that people who are not resident here but have a home here, second home here, they would qualify on that basis that they have a escritura, a title deeds for a
I mean, you don't need to, I mean, sometimes the deeds are quite lengthy, like 20, 30 pages. You only need the part that actually names you as the owner.
Right.
I mean, if you can read Spanish, you know where to look for and where it is identified. But yeah, and then you need to copy that, obviously. But one word of warning, I know people, I know if you go to through a dealer or somebody like that, possibly even a gestor, for them it's so much easier to just ask for a padron certificate, because that kind of they seem to think that proves that you're legal here. But a padron certificate is not required, and I would really seriously advise them not to even get it. If they insist, the dealer or the gestor, that they're on the padron, will do it and then deregister the padron after you've registered the vehicle, because otherwise it's got other consequences.
Well, yeah, it's a difficult one, but I guess why the dealers do that is so that they are sure which council the car is being registered to.
Exactly, and it's also just a case of one piece of paper rather than asking for utility bills or sifting through your property contract, etc., etc. So I can understand it for ease of that, yes, but it isn't actually necessary.
I passed on to you something a few days ago, and that had been sent to me, and the guy was not looking for a solution. He just wanted us to know that he is a second homeowner here. He's not resident. He was buying a car, and the dealer sent the papers on to Tráfico and was told that this guy had to demonstrate that he wasn't breaking the 90-day rules.
Yeah, I've never heard of that, Bill. I've never heard of that, and I don't know how he would do it apart from showing his passport. How is he going to prove that?
Yeah. But do you think this is just a job's worth in one of the offices?
It could well be. Or could it be because he got a padron certificate? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. I mean, it needed looking into. Sometimes it's quite a lot is lost in interpretation, isn't it? Lost in translation. From what the Brit might understand. I mean, I know if you go to Tráfico and you hand over and say you want to re-register, make a transfer of your car to this person, and you hand over your padron, a copy of your padron certificate, they will take it, they will keep it. They won't turn around and say, I don't need that. And then people will come away saying, oh yes, and I had to hand in my padron. No.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it kind of gets a bit lost, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this seems to have been a kind of strange one-off thing.
I've not heard of it from anybody else. I certainly hope it was a one-off. Obviously, I mean, there's a couple of recommendations, I suppose. If you are buying from an unknown person, like you're just buying off the internet or eBay or whatever it might be, it's advisable to see all of the original paperwork to ensure that the person selling it and their DNI or their NIE, etc., is the same person and they've got the right to sell it, because it might be a stolen vehicle for all we know.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I've known people that's happened to as well. Yeah. And then the police have come knocking and impounded the vehicle. I have known that happen. So, you know, you've got to make sure the names on the vendor's paperwork and those on the feature technique, on the logbook, so to speak, match up. It's also a good idea to request a vehicle report. I think they're called informe de cargas, which, before buying it, which will tell you if a second-hand car has any debts attached to it or any embargoes, because once it's in your name, they would be yours.
Right.
You don't want that.
So it's a bit like buying a house in that sense, that once you buy it, you actually assume all the debts that belong to the house.
That's it. So much the same as that. So once the sale is agreed, the seller then should provide the following. So let me read it from here. Vehicle registration documents, which is your permiso de circulación and the ficha técnica. There's two. Proof of roadworthiness, so a valid ITV test certificate. Receipt for municipal vehicle tax paid, the impuesto municipal. Personal ID, such as their NIE and DNI card, etc., plus a photocopy for the buyer. And if they're non-Spanish, then a copy of their passport as well.
Okay. So this is really going to be, if you're going down the route of buying it privately and doing it all yourself.
The buyer and the seller should also complete a sales agreement that you can actually download off Google. You can download it, a contrato de compraventa. You download it, fill it in, and sign it. Obviously, that's where you need Spanish, because if you don't understand what you're filling in, it's not the most easily explained. But it should note the details of the vehicle, the names of the buyer and the seller, the sale price agreed. It doesn't always have to be the actual price you're paying. Let's put it like that. And the date and time that the transfer takes place. That's important, because any traffic fines associated thereafter can be assigned to the correct person.
Okay.
So, there's a certain few things you need to bear in mind, basically. Like I said, it's not as easy as doing it in the UK, unfortunately.
No, it's not. And I think it's why people very often, do two things. One, try to buy through dealers. And secondly, get someone to do all this paperwork you're talking about. Get someone to do it for them.
Absolutely.
And hopefully they get it right first time round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the buyer should then provide a transfer of ownership form, which is the solicitud de transmisión de vehículos, which is signed by the buyer and the vendor. It's a duplicate form, so the buyer and the vendor each keeps a copy. Transfer of ownership is then finalised at Tráfico. And you can either go as with the details of the vendor, or you can actually both go together if you wanted. Or, as you've already said, a professional gestor or somebody could do it for you.
Yes, yeah. But I think it's useful to know that there are traps along the way. And it's not, as you say, just as easy as, two people get together, you tear off the two slips and they both send them in, and that's it all done, as it would be done in the UK.
No. I mean, it's important to be certain that the transfer is properly completed, as we've already said. Otherwise, the vendor might be held responsible for any unpaid taxes or fines that the new owner might incur. And there's no way around that, I'm afraid. Absolutely no way around that.
And there are taxes involved in the sale and purchase of cars, aren't there?
Yeah, I believe it's based currently on 4% of the value that you have to pay. And it's not, like I say, it's not the price you've actually paid for it. It's the estimated value. Yeah,
yet again, it's like houses, isn't it? You do actually pay tax on a house for what you declare to be paid for, but the tax department will also say what they think it's worth, and if they think it's worth more than you say you paid for it,
no, I mean, I've known people several years ago, actually, they bought an absolute snip of a bargain. One actually was in El Faro, and it was a man and his wife that were divorcing, and they just wanted to get rid of the house quick, sold it for a ridiculously cheap price. It was a villa. The buyer, 6 months down the line, got a letter saying he owed 40,000 euros because it had been undervalued at sale. And I mean, how can you prove that really you genuinely did not pay, or you genuinely did pay the price you're saying?
Yes, yeah.
It's really difficult. So possibly it's best to use a professional or somebody that knows what they're doing, at least.
At least someone who understands the system.
At least someone who understands the system. I mean, if you're worried, you can do a baja of the vehicle. You can
right.
I don't know, what would you call it? Cancel its roadworthiness, whatever you might.
Kind of deregister.
Deregister, to avoid any later consequences.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah, the transfer of the vehicle registration document has to be made within 30 days of the date of purchase.
Right.
Again, you can wangle that if you've had it longer than that and you've got around, if the vendor is in the UK and has not come over, then okay. Right. And as I say, it's currently approximately 4% of the value of the vehicle. Yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. Yeah, it's not as easy as it might sound, but if you know what you're doing, it is relatively simple.
Yeah, and we've got your phone number trailing along the bottom of the screen there, Anne. So if anybody needs help with that, they can certainly contact you, can't they?
So what else is there on the vehicle front? Well, well, the new emissions charge. The bar's been very busy, hasn't he, before Christmas, because there was all of this rumour mongering spreading that all of these emission stickers had to be on your vehicle because January the 1st it was all coming into play.
Right.
Not true. Not true. I even read it in newspapers, actually. So, I mean, it's the Spanish ZBE, the Zona de Bajo Emisiones, low emission zones, I suppose you might call it. Yeah. And it's in city centres. And I can understand why they're doing it, because they're trying to reduce the environmental impact of the emissions from the exhaust. I do fully understand that. And depending on the vehicle when it was registered, whether it's petrol or diesel, the size of it, how many seats it's got, etc., there are different stickers, different categories for it.
Okay.
Like that. I'm still not 100% certain of all of it, because I think a few years ago, if you remember, when you go to do an ITV, no, I'm not wishing to be funny, but they shoved a pipe up my exhaust at the ITV centre. and I said, what are you doing? I've never known that. And they said, well, that's a new test. We have to check the emissions.
The emissions, yes, yeah.
Even though it's an old vehicle and it's passed the emissions test at ITV, you still might not be able to qualify for the sticker, which I find rather odd. So what is the point of doing that? It's a bit,
yeah.
It's a bit odd. I mean, and it's going to cost a fortune if you've got to convert a vehicle. It's like in London, isn't it, where they've got these low emissions things. I don't know.
Yeah. I think what's also made more complicated, Anne, is that although all this legislation is now there and in place, it's going to be up to every local authority to decide how and where this is implemented.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, just to confirm, no new zones, ZBE zones, emission zones, came in on January the 1st anywhere in Spain. Okay. But the rush by some Brits to get their sticker, and even here in Mijas at the post office, has now meant that the post office has run out of stickers. Even if you wanted to go and get one, you can't. You've got to wait.
Right.
Yeah, which is all a bit odd. But there we go. So, but earlier this year, the Spanish government did pass an act that would force all cities of over 50,000 inhabitants to develop an anti-air pollution policy or plan. Right. And as you say, some of them have yet to do it, but they've left it. They've said it has to be applied by the end of 2023. So it wasn't on January the 1st.
Yeah.
And that legislation obviously gives them the power to start planning to introduce it, but only if they want to. So, I mean, you've just got to keep an eye out on your local municipality, I suppose, to find out when they're actually going to be applying this, because there's a temporary and a permanent one.
The thing is, Anne, that, if you are in, I don't know, Malaga City or even Fuengirola, you can kind of understand that they might say, well, these zones are going to be the low emissions zones.
Yeah.
But when you look at a municipality like Mijas, where there isn't actually, a single large population with all the traffic going through it, I think it's going to be more complex to decide if or how they actually implement something like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite difficult. I really do. Yeah. And it doesn't all make sense, to be honest, because even in the zones where you're not allowed to go through if you don't have the relevant sticker, you can apply and pay for an exception. And I believe you can apply for up to 10 days a year.
Right.
So that sounds a bit odd. And there's also others, meaning temporary, whereby it's Monday to Friday between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. After that, you can drive through. Well, the environmental impact doesn't stop at 8 p.m. I find it all a little bit peculiar.
It sounds like it's sort of stacking up for a bit more chaos, Anne.
Quite likely, yes. Most definitely, yes. But I don't know. I mean, until now, it's only been Madrid and Barcelona that operate this. But obviously, it's going to be coming into it. Certainly, Malaga and Valencia and other bigger regions, bigger areas. Sure. I would have to. There's potentially it could mean that 149 Spanish municipalities of more than 50,000 inhabitants will be restricted zones. 29 of which are in Andalusia.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, if you've got an old car and an old banger and you can't get this sticker, I was thinking the other day, crikey, I'm driving an old car. Fortunately, it's not. It's just on the cusp. I think I won't be able to leave my house. I'm going to be totally housebound.
Yeah, and if they're going to do that, I think all the municipalities who are introducing this need also to look at what their transport policy is going to be.
Absolutely. Well, they're saying it's to encourage you to use public transport. But if you don't have public transport wherever you're living, don't forget Mijas covers Campo as well, where public transport doesn't necessarily go. What are you supposed to do then? Use a taxi, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think they've thought it through fully yet.
No.
And what about if you only want to go to the airport here in Malaga? Yeah, you're being sarcastic, aren't you, Bill? Yes. What about if you want to go to the airport to pick someone up? Does that come under Malaga? I don't know.
Yeah.
Where does that area cut off? I don't know. You need to look for the red sign. It's a red circle with sort of like a clip art of a car, and then it's got ... which looks like exhaust fumes coming from the exhaust. That means you're entering a low emission zone. And underneath that, it will say with exception to, and then it will give you the sticker numbers, the categories. Right. So, yeah. You can, as I said, when Correos have these stickers, they're €5.
All right. I'm just looking. I'm just looking at various road signs, but I'm probably not seeing the Spanish one here.
If you look at Madrid, you probably see it if you see Madrid or Barcelona. There's new road signs coming in as well, actually, isn't there? But you need to take your vehicle papers and your photo ID. And at the moment, they're only available for Spanish registered cars.
Okay, I am looking at one now.
Cars not eligible are classified as A. I wonder if, like years ago, they will offer some sort of special payment plan that they give you some sort of loan to part exchange against a newer vehicle.
Right.
Not everybody can afford. I mean, if you're driving a 1999 vehicle, you won't qualify.
Sure.
Everybody's got the money, the funds to be able to go and buy a vehicle that is within the years that they do qualify.
So basically, your car is going to be pretty useless for just about everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, the categories are: you've got obviously classified as A is not eligible. Then you've got category 0, which is a blue sticker, which applies to the electric vehicles. I've reduced this down considerably. And then you've got category Eco, which is a green and blue sticker for plug-in hybrid vehicles with a range of less than 40 kilometers, and non-plug-in vehicles and those powered by natural gas. Then you have a category C, which is a green sticker, covers passenger cars and light petrol vans that are registered from January 2006, passenger cars and light diesel vans that are registered from 2014, vehicles with more than 8 seats that are either petrol or diesel registered from 2014, and motorbikes from 2006 onwards. Then category B is the yellow sticker that applies to passenger cars, light petrol vans registered from January 2000, diesel passenger cars and light vans registered from January 2000, vehicles with more than 8 seats that are petrol or diesel registered from 2005 and motorbikes that are registered from 2003 onwards. I mean, you can go online, go onto the DGT website and see which category your vehicle, just by giving your registration, which category sticker your vehicle would qualify for.
Yeah, and I think there've been some articles on the N332 website and Facebook page as well. Trying to explain this, and they are very good. But my God, it just sounds awfully complicated.
It sounds very complicated, and obviously these stickers have to be displayed on the lower right side of the windscreen on the inside, the lower right-hand side, not the top right where we have to put our ITV. And motorbikes can buy a special holder, or they have to obviously display them visibly. Let's put it like that. If you do not comply, do be careful. There's a €200 fine in place. And according to sources in Madrid that I found out, as at May, 125 million euros worth of fines were issued. So don't tell me it's not a money-making scheme. Yeah.
You know, I can understand that big cities need to find a way to reduce the number of vehicles on the road. I do understand that.
Well, but, of course.
To be perfectly honest, when we go to Madrid, we don't even take a car and we don't use a car, you know, because the public transport system is exceptional. But when you move down to these kind of areas, you know, in all fairness, creating that level of integrated public transport is not that easy.
No, it isn't that easy.
And I am thinking about Mijas here, because
you know, absolutely,
we've got 150 square kilometers.
Yeah, we're quite spread out, aren't we?
We're very spread out. You've got rural areas, you know. Even if you live, I don't know, way at the top of Riviera, you know, I guess there are buses go up there, but you know, how many, 1 an hour or something?
Few and far between. I don't know. I mean, they've only just come buses to ours over the last few years after me campaigning for goodness knows how long. Otherwise, we never had a bus, and we're only 3.5 kilometers outside of La Cala and Fuengirola.
Yeah.
It's still only limited service. One bus and it drops you off at one place. I think you pick it up at one place. It doesn't do a tour everywhere, but you know, it's handy for people that need to go to Cari or somewhere like that to the hospital. But anyway, Spanish Ministry of Transport, the DGT, have confirmed that owners of visiting non-Spanish registered vehicles cannot at present obtain a Spanish eco sticker. However, if they've got a sticker from a recognised equivalent that's in their country, and quoted is at present the schemes of France, Germany, Austria, and Denmark are recognised, that will actually count. But obviously, if you're travelling, if you're going to drive through France or travelling, you need to check what stickers you actually you need, because you will probably need them if you're going to be driving through any of these zones.
Yeah, and there are still people that choose to spend their holidays here, and you know, maybe in their own apartments, and actually drive down to the Costas. So they are going to have to make sure that they get an appropriate sticker, at least from their home country. Yep,
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, but it's not a rush yet. Certainly in Mijas, it's. Even though people seem to think there was, like I said, Bob in the Bar was very busy before Christmas. So, but I don't know. The post office have been issuing them. I know people in Mijas that have been given them.
Yeah, well, there was a meeting yesterday afternoon in the transport department to discuss this. But by the time we found out about it, they had no places left for anyone to attend.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, part of the course.
I think they said that you could join by Zoom, but they didn't send us a link. So,
okay.
So no doubt we will find out what the initial discussions are, at least. Because I don't think this was about decision making yesterday. I think it really was about discussions about what can be done.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it might be an idea from maybe next month. I bring in as a guest somebody that can tell us about driving in Spain. Because the rules are the highway code is quite different, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
You know, there's very, very strict drink driving laws here with legal limit. You know, children over 12 are only allowed in the front seat. Children in the back have to be on a booster seat or taller than 135 centimeters.
Right.
Um,
Okay, that's
we
maybe
know
something.
if you pay your fines within 20 days, you get a 50% discount. And also your Spanish driving license that you're going to be getting doesn't work in the same way as the British one, in as much as you have 12 points on it. You don't get points added to it, you get points taken off.
Taken off. We've got a message from Peter here. He's got his sticker. He got a category C, but he's not sure what that ranks in the grand scheme of things.
No, well, I don't know. I must be truthful. I could tell him what category C means, what the year of his vehicle is and everything else, but quite what it means. It's the green sticker. It will mean that he's allowed in when you see that sign underneath the circle with the car where it says except for, and then it will have category C as the green sticker.
I can show you actually this is from the N322 website.
That's one, that's it.
That's the sign that says you're going into a low emission zone.
Correct.
And this is what you're talking about.
Yeah, except for those below. Yeah.
Exactly. So those are three. But you were saying that's a whole bundle of other ones as well. So if you get that, you can only get in if you have one of these three stickers.
So you've got to be extremely observant. Otherwise, as I said, if you get caught, it's a €200 fine, and we don't want that. You don't lose points off your license, but I mean, like I said, let's bring in someone to explain these things, because I'm sure a lot of the British drivers here, certainly those that might be going to do their exchange of driving license, aren't fully aware of how the highway code and how the law operates here, traffic laws and things. Which, I mean, you and I have been here for a long time, but I mean, approach a roundabout, that's something quite different. We won't go into that. But then again, you've got 12 points on your Spanish license when you start, and then you get deducted for traffic offences. And after 3 years of having a clean license, you can gain 2 extra points, and then another 1 point after 4 years of having a clean license. So your maximum could be 15 points.
Right.
And I mean, there's different traffic offences carry different deductions of points, etc.
Yeah. And we also have to say that if you get points taken off, there's going to be a fine associated with that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, drink driving is a €500 fine, and even potentially a prison sentence. I mean, it is very, very seriously taken here. Very seriously taken. So, it's worth finding out before you like driving in flip-flops and all sorts of things like this, driving with shopping in the back that isn't secured. Again, you can get done for that.
Talking
on your mobile or having your mobile phone on, or even a video or something. All of these things aren't allowed. And I think they're far stricter. And a long time since I've been back to the UK to drive, but I'm quite sure it's a lot stricter than the UK. Certainly as I remember it.
I think it may well be, but I've been away for so long as well that you don't keep up to date with the.
No, you don't. You don't. I only know what I'm told. That's it.
Sure.
But so it might be an idea if I invite someone in as my guest to talk about driving in Spain and to the highway code, if you think that would be okay.
Yeah, I think that would be really useful, because I'm sure, as you say, there are a lot of things that people are not aware of.
I'm certain.
I have said on so many occasions to people, especially people who don't live here, but sometimes people that do, we meet them for a coffee or we're out and we bump into them, and they go, I'm just heading off home, and they get into the car and I'm saying, listen, you're wearing flip-flops. Just so that you're aware, you can be fined. If you're stopped, you can be fined for wearing flip-flops.
Exactly. Or shirtless, I believe, if you're a man. I presume if you're a woman as well, but you sit there with your boobies hanging out.
You might get fined for 2 things,
or you might get invited to the next policeman's ball. Who knows? I don't know.
So yeah.
But there are. I mean, some of the other things are just hearsay, and it's only if they can prove that your irrational driving, dangerous driving caused an accident, that you would get fined for that. Otherwise, they're not going to. But I do know of people that have been fined €200 for having shopping loose on the back seat. that wasn't secured. You're supposed to put a seatbelt around it. The same as for dogs. You're supposed to do the same there. They all have to be harnessed in, with a strap and things. And like I've said, for children as well. Yeah. And there's certain rules of their height and their age, etc., etc. So, so it would be handy to have somebody come in and explain them to us. And perhaps I could then draw up a quick checklist.
Because the other thing about that, Anne, is that, people might have, I don't know, grandchildren coming over to visit.
Exactly.
For example, and they need to make sure that what they've got in terms of equipment for the car is suitable for the size and age of the children that they're going to be moving around in their car.
Exactly. It's either got to be a booster seat or a proper child's seat. And also, I mean, something recent, because I'm quite near to the Camino de Coin, where they're doing the roadworks, and suddenly appeared an unbroken yellow line down the centre of the road.
Right.
And I thought, well, unbroken line means you can't cross it. Yellow, I didn't know what meant. And I phoned the police and asked them, and they said that means there's roadworks, so you cannot cross it. So, I mean, I posted to everybody here, do not cross it. And I do know there's people have been fined for crossing it, and I still think there's people crossing it. They don't seem to know that an unbroken line cannot be crossed, no matter what colour it is.
Sure.
But the yellow one means that roadworks are in progress. It's where they're doing, by Oyo 19 and Venta La Morena, where they're doing I don't know if they're doing a roundabout, which was promised, or whatever they're doing.
That is what is going to eventually be done there. But they're also, I think, widening the Camino de Campanales.
I believe so, yes, as I call the potato road. Yes.
I think there's been some compulsory purchase of the plots up that road. And I believe that the plan is to widen that road a bit.
Yeah, and I think access is only if you are residents.
That's what it says, yes. Yeah. They've made it like an obstacle course for anyone to get down there. So,
I've been down there. So, but I wouldn't know. But I mean, you will still see people, like I said, crossing over, coming out from the riverbed crossing. Where the bins are opposite Oyo, and they go straight across as if they're going into Oyo, or turn left. Well, you can't. You've got to turn right, go down to the roundabout, and come back again. Or if you're coming from, if you want to go left to Mijas, to the Mijas Golf area, that's the way you have to go. Unfortunately, just turn left. It's a bit inconvenient, but what you've got to do. So I can only give people warnings.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and to be really honest, Anne, I more and more now, if I have to do an awkward turn, I drive down to the next roundabout, even if it takes me 2 minutes longer. Get to the roundabout and do the turn at the roundabout, because
it's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
Anyway, apart from that, that's all I've got on driving. But there are a couple of points to finish up on. I don't know how long we've got.
No. Fire away, Anne.
Okay, so the EPREM, the cost of living, let's say, has changed for 2023. It's increased.
Oh, you've frozen, Anne. Yep, I think you might be back. You froze there for a moment.
Okay, am I back now?
You are indeed, yes. So you were saying about the EPREN.
Yeah, has increased for 2023, which will affect those that have to show an annual income if they're applying for a non-lucrative visa, for example, the visas, and it has gone up to 28,000 per annum for the main applicant and 7,200 for the spouse and each child. Right.
Okay.
And bearing in mind, obviously, when that's with a visa, if it's a non-lucrative that you get for 5 years, second and third year is issued together, as is the fourth and fifth year. So you need to double that as it stands at the minute. There is talk that might be left as a single, but I haven't seen it happen yet.
Yeah, but it was always going to only go up, wasn't it? That they were never going to make that.
That's never going to go down. It's not gone up much, but I mean, it's enough. It's quite a lot of money, isn't it? 28,000 and 7,200 for the spouse and each child. That's a fair old whack, isn't it? But that's what you have to prove. And then the other thing would be the digital nomad visa that I keep being asked about. Was published on 20 September, and this until the 30th to announce the necessary instructions. regarding the requirements for this visa. Until then, though, and I've had people phone me today asking, can we apply for it? Until then, you cannot apply for the visa.
Right. Okay.
They think they've seen it published, so that's it. Now they can do it. They can't. We've got to wait for the finite details, let's say.
Right.
And the Spanish government has until the 31st of December to issue those.
Right. So I think that's something we can talk about when we have some solid information.
Yeah, when we get a bit more confirmation on that. But just to let people know, because as I said, I've had 2 or 3 have called me today and asking about it. You can't apply for it yet. So
okay.
Don't worry, but it is in the offing. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. So no doubt Bob has got some advice on this as well.
Oh,
Bob
I'm sure he has. I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure he has. Bob the Gob, I call him now. It's terrible. But no, I haven't seen anything on that yet. But yeah,
you're such a diplomat, Anne.
No, I speak the truth, Bill. I'm so sorry. No, I'm not in the least bit diplomatic, am I?
No, you're not. It can be quite refreshing, though, Anne, I have to say.
Yeah, well, there we go. And that's about it from me.
Okay, you're coming and going again a little bit, Anne. I think your internet connection's going up and down a little bit.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can see your signal strength seems to be going up and down. And yeah, you've given us a lot of information tonight, Anne, and I'm sure people are going to be watching this carefully and listening to it over and
trying
again.
To make notes. Otherwise, give me a call. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Anne's number is at the bottom there, and if there's something specific you want to ask her about or you need help with, you know, she says, you know, you can be free to give her a ring and talk to her about it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you, Bill. Keep up the good work. What can I say?
Yeah, well, we'll try. You take care, and
thank you.
I shall be back next week with Daniela Vink. Take care, everyone. Almost a weekend, so have a good one when it comes.
Thank you. Love to Vicky. Thanks a lot.
Bye now.
Bye.